Hello, I'm Malcolm Haslett.
And I'm Janice Baker. What's happening in the world of solar power? Have you been converted?
Oh, yeah, I did actually, quite some time ago. Or are you thinking about a battery to harvest your needs? We talk to expert Finn Peacock next on Our Time. Love what you've done with the wall. Did you run out of plaster and paint? What happened?
No, it's on trend, Malcolm.
On trend? I thought it was Andre.
Well, it was actually.
It was actually. Andre, our studio manager. Very nice, Andre. Thank you very much.
Yes.
But we're not here to talk about Andre's prowess with bricking.
No, we're not.
What are we here to talk about?
Talk about solar panels.
It's not. It's solar power generally, because I don't know about you, but it's somewhat confusing because everyone's talking about solar. But there are costs involved in changing over. And what happens if everyone gets solar panels on the roof and there's no reason to generate electricity anymore? Is that possible, Finn Peacock?
Hello, Finn.
Hello.
Hello.
Is it possible to only power Australia with solar? Is that the question?
Yes.
With enough storage, it would be possible, yes.
And how far away from that are we? A long way, or is it sort of around the corner?
Yes.
Or?
No, we're a long way. You'd need an enormous amount of storage to get through the night.
We're saying the government's saying in 30 years' time we're supposed to be carbon neutral. Do you think that's really possible?
That's from an energy generation perspective. Yes, that's possible with wind, solar, lots of different storage, batteries, pumped hydro. We'll still need a little bit of gas and other storage technologies that are coming along.
And the gas would be because the sun doesn't always shine everywhere.
Yeah, you need a backup, in case you run out of solar or wind or battery. So
Finn, just so that people who haven't met you before, you've been on the program a couple of times before, bringing us up to date every couple of years as to where we're up to. What is your background in the solar energy market?
So by training, I'm an electrical engineer. I worked for the CSIRO, dealing with solar and wind. And now I run my own solar company. And
you basically advise people as to what they should do?
Yeah, we help people get quotes for home and commercial solar, and we give them advice about which hardware to choose.
And that's really hard because every time you turn a magazine over, or the newspaper, you see an ad.
Yes.
And they're all the best companies, but how do you choose?
They all say they're the best. So a really good rule of thumb is, just like anything, don't buy the absolute cheapest system on the market. I mean, I think we all intuitively know that's a bad idea.
Yeah, get your quotes from the lowest to the highest and then go in the middle.
So the safest way is to get multiple quotes, yes, and do your research online.
Yeah.
Do you know the hardest thing is probably the mistake I made when I got solar panels on my roof? The solar company said, what's your electricity bill? Oh, it's that much. Well, 7 panels will be ample for you. Well, they're not.
Well, the advice, maybe 10 years ago when solar was literally 10 times more expensive.
It was
good advice to look at how much energy you use and be very careful that you didn't put too much solar on. Now, honest to God, the best advice we can give is fill your roof with solar, because solar has become so cheap, and the government solar rebate covers the cost of the panels. It doesn't cover the cost of the installation, but the extra panels, the hardware cost, is actually covered by the rebate, which is per panel. So once the team's on your roof and you're attaching the panels to your roof, those extra panels are actually very, very cheap, much cheaper than adding them after the fact. So,
because if we signed up for the rebate early on, we can't now augment them with more.
You can.
But we lose that feed-in...
So you've got the feed-in tariff and you've got the rebate. The rebate is a point-of-sale discount off the price of the solar system. That you can use as many times as you like. So you're buying a subsidised solar system. Then you've got the feed-in tariff, which is how much you get paid for exporting your surplus solar into the grid. Now, that has gone down in recent times.
Yes.
But the last couple of years, it's actually popped up again. So that's fairly good again now. Most people can get about 20 cents a kilowatt hour for exporting it back into the grid.
Does everybody, when you're doing a new build, do you have to put solar panels on your roof?
No, there's no. I think you'd be crazy not to.
No, I know.
But there's no rules that you have to.
I think there's a rule that you have to put a tank, like water tanks in, but is there not?
Yes, but isn't it solar water heaters now as well?
So there is a rule.
Builds? Here in South Australia.
Here in South Australia, you need a water tank.
Yes.
You can get away with a very, very small one.
Okay.
And you have to have your house has to be built to a certain energy efficiency standard.
Yeah.
And an easy way to get the star rating up is to add solar electricity, solar hot water, but it's not mandatory.
No. And what about batteries? I mean, we actually built 3 years ago a new extension and put the solar panels on. We were advised at the time that possibly down the track to get a battery, but we haven't done that yet.
Yes.
Will it be cheaper now than it would have been initially? Is
4 or
that
5
price?
years ago.
Yeah.
It depends where you live.
Okay.
So in Australia, we've now got battery rebates on top of solar panel rebates, and they're driven by the state governments. So
Yes, so that's not in every state.
that's in South Australia, that's in ACT, and that's in 40 postcodes in Victoria. Don't ask me why the Victorian government's
40, is that weird?
only letting certain postcodes access the battery rebates. But if you access that can pretty much chop the price of a battery in half, which means that it's going to half the payback period of a battery. So if you get a subsidised battery, you're looking at an economic payback of about 10 years. Which about matches the warranty. Unsubsidised batteries, unfortunately, you're still looking at 20 years plus. So it's not really an economic proposition, unsubsidised batteries in Australia. If you want it for backup, that's another aspect altogether. If you want it because you really like the technology and you love looking at your app and filling your battery in the day and trying not to use all your energy at night, which, some of us enjoy doing that,
Okay.
and that's fine. But economically, if it's subsidised, it's pretty close to paying for itself within the warranty period. Unsubsidised, it's not going to save you much money.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, but you're somebody who's learnt to live on this planet without using too much of the resources. There was an article about you just recently in the local paper on a Sunday.
Yes.
With your lifestyle, with your children and you with bikes all hung up at home.
Yes.
And just explaining the whole system you had at home. Just give us a brief overview of how do you live your life?
So 6 years ago, we built a house in Adelaide. We wanted it to be very efficient. We wanted to absolute minimum heating and cooling. So we built it out of straw bales because they're very insulating. Because if you think about a straw bale, there's lots of air pockets in there. And then we rendered the straw bale with kind of like a clay lime render.
So it's thick walls.
As thick as a straw bale, funnily enough.
Thick walls.
Yes.
Not like your brick wall here, Thomas.
Bit thicker than that wall there.
I
yeah.
have seen this done. There's a program on television that
Yes.
I watch quite regularly,
So-
and I've seen it done. It's an amazing way
I think
of
our
building.
vintage probably all watch that program.
It gives you a really rustic, organic look, like really deep
yes,
windowsills, which
lovely.
I like. And I think it ages well.
Yeah.
Looks more cottagey in a way, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So the first step to living with zero bills essentially is get the thermal envelope of your home right. So make it thermally efficient. So that's insulation, glazing, and gaps. If you get the
And what
insulation
gap?
gaps, most
gaps?
Australian houses have lots of gaps.
Right. You mean like under doorways?
Under the doors, between the window and the window frame, even where the roof butts up to the wall. Lots and lots of gaps. So, and obviously any hot air, in winter the hot air is going to escape, in summer the hot air is going to come in, or the cool air is going to escape. So yeah, we got the thermal design of the house right. Then we put only 6 kilowatts of solar on the roof. We put a solar water heater on the roof, which gives us about 75% of our hot water needs. We all ride bikes. So I've got a garage designed for bikes, not cars.
So the truth is that Finn actually rode here for how many k's would it be from Brighton to the studio here?
It's about 23,
In an
hour and a bit.
on a single
Single-speed bike.
Single speed bike. What a guy!
Can you smell me?
And changed his clothes.
Not an e-bike, folks.
No,
This
I
was-
just drive a little smart car. That's the best economics I can make. But
effort.
Finn, what do you have on your roof at home?
I've got 24 250 watt solar panels, so 6
sorry,
kilowatts.
the material of your roof.
That's colour bond, white colour bond.
Right, because white reflects the heat.
Yeah.
But is something in the pipeline that roofs are going to be just giant solar panels in the future?
I would love to see solar colour bond. No one's invented that yet. In America, Tesla have invented a solar roof tile, which they're currently selling. But actually, solar roof tiles have been available from other companies for many years.
Right.
The reason they haven't taken off is that a solar roof is about 10 times more expensive than the equivalent amount of solar power with conventional panels.
Well, that would have been my next question. Are all solar panels the same?
No. So there are a number of good brands and there are a number of not very good brands. So you've got to be careful which ones you buy. Do your research online.
Well,
How long are solar panels meant to last? Are they a lifetime thing? The good ones.
The good ones are warranted for 25 years and you should see 30, 35 years out of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Won't be around then.
send us some information. I'll leave that on Facebook for people watching,
Sure.
so that they can just follow that through. But you've also written this book, which is really, it's probably what we need to know about solar, isn't it? That's what's inside of this.
Yeah, it's 7 steps from thinking, I need solar, to getting it on your roof. And if you follow those 7 steps, you will get tiny bills for decades. Yeah, it's a foolproof way to buy good solar.
We've got a couple of props here that we'll talk about in a minute when we come back after this short break. Stay with us. Our special guest is Finn Peacock.
Finn Peacock is with us again. He's been with us a couple of times, hasn't he? We're talking about solar power. Finn, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's good to get an expert because it's very hard for the average person to work out what we really need to do.
Yeah.
But what I'm fascinated with, Finn, is these little panels here. Can you be a tree or a roof for a minute? And there's a cable here that plugs into somewhere here.
Under there's a little flap.
There.
Not quite, no.
Right.
There's a little flap here.
Oh, there.
So it's waterproofed,
Okay.
it's in there.
Oh, okay. So that plugs in here. But more to the point, it's got 3 settings on the light. It shows here, it works from a panel. If I was here in Australia out in the bush and desperate for light, this would be great. But if I lived in a developing country, I guess like parts of Africa or even India,
Yep, Africa, India, Nepal.
or Nepal as well,
Yep.
with no electricity or unavailable or whatever, this would give me light at night and this would be enough to sort of live a comfortable lifestyle.
Yeah, so some of the poorest people in the world, we're helping them install these systems on where they live. They've got no electrical grid at the moment. For light, they burn kerosene. The fumes are poisonous.
Of course.
Releases lots of CO2, so it's bad for the environment for all of us, and it's expensive.
Yep.
So what we do is we help set up entrepreneurs.
Now, when you
sell
say
these.
we,
Yes.
just explain who the we are.
So we're supporting an Australian charity called Pollinate Energy. And what they do is they enable entrepreneurs in India and Nepal to sell these lights on payment plans. And they make sure that the payments are cheaper than what these guys would pay for kerosene.
Right.
So
So how much would that be in?
that's about 30
Aussie
US,
dollars.
30 US dollars, so about 50 Aussie dollars.
And that panel
Yes.
would be for one resident,
Yes.
for one family.
That's a 3-watt panel.
Yes.
A typical Australian system would need 2,000 of those panels.
Oh my God.
That's how much energy
Run a
we
house.
use.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and you know, that's something we forget and take for granted, that all of us have virtually grown up with electricity, except me, I didn't. I have to say, when I was a child, we had the kerosene lamps and heaters and all that.
He's very
that
old.
stuff.
He looks good for his age.
No, but
You've done well.
But in my lifetime, I've seen us change from literally burning wood fires
Yeah.
to cook
Yes.
and for heat. I remember when we got electricity for the first. I lived in the Adelaide Hills, and it was a bit late coming there. We didn't have paved roads either. But I remember Mum having to. In fact, I remember my father saying, not long before he died, "Your mother never had to want for wood," which seems to be an odd thing to say, but what he meant was she never had to worry about kindling or firewood to
Yeah.
cook, because in those days...
Well, to keep you warm.
Yeah, and to keep us warm. But, you know, Mum's made all the food from scratch
Yes.
in those days.
Yes.
And to have gone from that to something like this in a lifetime after humans being around for so long, it's an incredible time to be alive.
It is, and this will be the decade of electrification. So we use a lot of electricity now, but everything is going to move to electricity. Transport, gas heating, it's all moving to electricity because we can use that from low carbon sources.
But they've started that now, haven't they? There are electric cars.
Yes.
Why aren't there more?
Yeah, why aren't there?
Because at the moment they're expensive, but they're coming down in price.
Is it because they're not
quickly.
being mass produced to the same degree, or is just the technology more expensive?
It's both. So it's the technology of the batteries that's getting cheaper all the time as they find cheaper ways to make them, and they're ramping up production. So we rarely feel like we're on an inflection point now. I got my electric car last year, and
you still ride a bike.
I still ride a bike.
So when can you get electric muscles?
Well, you can get electric bikes that help you
Yes,
pedal.
I do. The e-bikes.
they're
Friends
pedal
of mine
assist.
recently bought them.
Yeah, they're becoming very popular.
Yes, they are.
But you'll see everything will become electrified. We stop using gas heaters, gas water heating.
Well, here's a question that I've never heard answered. So how much carbon does making a solar panel use?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in Australia, the panel has to be on your roof for about 10 months to pay back the energy used in making it, delivering it, and installing it. It's about 10 months in Australia.
Wow.
Yes, but see, that's only, a 20th of its life, is it?
Yeah. If it's a good panel, yes, that's
If it's a good
20th or 30th.
And
of its life.
who is making the best panels? Not brand names, but is it like a country making the best panels?
Australia, are we? Or is it?
There's one solar panel manufacturer in Australia, in Adelaide. They make very good panels. 85% of panels are made in China. There's really good manufacturers in China and there's really bad ones, so you do have to be careful.
Okay, so the coronavirus is going to slow down the importation, I would imagine.
Yes, it's likely that we'll run out of Chinese panels in March
It's,
in Australia.
Yeah, well, that'll be interesting. Does that mean that would give a window for local manufacturers to ramp up their production?
I think the local guys are pretty much flat chat at the moment. They're extending their factory, last I heard. It will give a leg up to people from Taiwan, from the Philippines. Those panels they'll probably sell out.
But
too.
are they using them themselves? Are they generating power themselves out of these panels as well? Or are they just exporting everything?
No, they're using them domestically as well. So it's going to be very interesting.
Well, I asked that question because all over the news, government arguing backwards and forwards between the parties. This suggestion that nobody's doing enough and everybody's got a plan, but nobody's got a plan. It makes it difficult for the general public to think, is the government really moving in this direction? Is it going to be people power led because we're just going to do it because it's good science and good practicality for our homes? But the people making the panels, are they using them to the same extent as we're thinking of buying them?
Yes, so Australia it's unstoppable, the renewable energy. It's just economics, it's cheaper. Firmed renewables is cheaper than fossil-powered electricity, so...
It's become cheaper.
It's become cheaper, yes.
Yes,
so,
it was not necessarily cheaper originally, though.
No, it's been in the last 5 or 6 years.
It's been
the
quick.
lines have crossed.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's an unstoppable force. The government can get behind it and help accelerate it, or they can try and slow it down, but we will get there in the next couple of decades.
What's the point, do you think, in slowing it down, though?
It's just politics, appeasing certain factions of each
So the reality
party.
is the politicians need to start listening to the mass rather than the pressure groups or the lobby groups.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to look to the future. They need to talk to the private business people and the economists and stop talking to people that are stuck in the last 3 decades. They need to look to the future, not the past.
That's so true, though, isn't it? Like you're saying, in you building, you naturally look forward for the future. Well, Kim would have.
Yes, absolutely. We did.
So it just means that if you're thinking of changing your house or adding to your home, obviously you're going to have advice from the builders and designers about this. But just in our hearts, I guess the real feeling for all of us is we have to contribute to this change by making the change ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. If your house can be part of the solution, not part of the problem, by producing more energy than it uses, which for most Australian homes would be a 6 to 8 kilowatt system, that's a really good feeling, and it's really helping because it's forcing the government to find solutions. Because we're pumping so much solar electricity into the grid now, the government is being forced to invest in storage, in transmission line upgrades.
Well, see, that's interesting too. What about the companies that have been providing electricity up until now? Do you think they're going to change, like the company structure will sort of swing around, get rid of the facilities they've got, build something that's better for storage of energy?
They already are, and like I said, it's driven by economics. No private enterprise is going to build a coal-fired power station in Australia.
No, but we're hearing that on the news from the government at the moment. That's the whole point. They're still saying we're still going to build a coal-fire.
That would only get built if the government paid for it.
Right.
Private enterprise will not pay for it.
Because
And that's
the
why it's not
shareholders
happening.
No, but the government's talking about letting it happen. That's the whole
Yes.
point.
Yeah.
That's what the arguments have
It's
been
all talk.
in the last few months.
I will come back and eat my hat live on
You're
air
not
if they
wearing
build one. Eat my shoe. No one's going to build a coal-fired
Eat
power
your
station.
shoe after peddling out here for that. No, thanks.
No.
So what do you think the future really is going to be? Do you feel that it's young people making this move, or is it baby boomers like us that are really looking to the future now?
The young people.
Where do most of your questions come from?
Most of
people
our questions come from people over 50.
Right. So it is actually our generation that's, in a way, leading the charge.
And again, that's economically driven. They want to be staring down a retirement where they know they're in control of their bills.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
They don't want to be held hostage to ever rising electricity bills. But what we've found, we do surveys about why people buy solar, and after the bushfires, the amount of people buying solar for environmental reasons jumped from 15% to 45%.
Well, that's our next question that we'll ask you straight after this break. We'll be back soon.
Are you all right?
I need a solar panel to get going again.
Oh, goodness me.
The energy level. Finn, we've just had horrible bushfires throughout the country. I remember as a kid going through that time, again, living in the hills, and the preparation that my dad used to make during the year. But we didn't have the ability to put sprinklers on the roof or anything because we only had water tanks and there was no mains pressure water to it up there. The issue is that so many people that think about doing that rely on the energy that's, ported to us through the wires.
Yep.
So consequently, you need energy at home, like, I guess, batteries.
Yes.
Would it have been a help if more homes in the bush had things like sprinklers that were solar power and battery supplied that they could operate?
Well, the battery certainly gives you energy security. It's an alternative to a generator. You don't need to fuel
Well,
it.
a generator will blow up because it's usually petrol.
Yes. So generally, batteries can get pretty nasty if they explode and they get too hot.
Wouldn't you
But
put a
they're much
battery
more.
in a relatively secure, cool place?
Yes, you'd put it somewhere cool. And you'd think about, if you were in a fire-prone area, you'd think very carefully about where you put it.
So if there's such a thing as an average size home, how big would a battery be, physically big?
To get you through the night, probably about this wide, about this tall, and about that thick.
So it's sort of the size of a water heater, that sort of size.
Yes.
The old-fashioned water filter. Even,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Finn, thank you. It's been helpful. I hope it's been helpful having somebody like Finn, on the program. And if you've got any questions, you can always ask us on Facebook because we'd love to hear from you. We'll also leave information about this book and where it's available on Facebook. And our Facebook site is?
It's Our Time TV.
Yes.
Well done.
Very good.
I know.
It's
Throw that
only
one
been
in.
10 years. Finn, for the future, any mad prediction in 15 seconds?
No one will be buying diesel or petrol cars in 6 years' time.
Brilliant. I just wish they'd import solar panelled smart cars because I like little smart cars. Thank you so much. And now you've got to pedal home.
Thanks.
I hope it's a pleasant
Evening.
pedal experience.
It's a beautiful evening.
It is. Well done, Finn. Thank you.
Hey, is your light on your bike a solar panelled light?
It's powered by a dynamo, so it's muscle powered.
Of course it is. And you're the dynamo.
That's right.
Oh, see you next time on
Yes.
Our Time, everyone. Say goodbye, Janice.
Goodbye, Janice.
Keep yourself nice till next time. Bye.